So welcome to the Schoology Podcast. Today we're talking about how the innovation learning coordinators, the team, can support teachers in Berkeley County. And so we're super excited to have Pam Hubler here and Kate O'Leary to kind of help guide us through and remind us about all the wonderful things that, that the team can do to support all the great things going on in teachers, not only to support, but also highlight what the great things the teachers are doing as well, right? I think that's another part of what we have going on. So, people have heard about the innovation learning team, but they may not know what the team can do. And so the innovation learning coordinators are here to work with teachers, we work to coaches, we work with administrators to collaborate, connect, and support individuals or school level goals. And so that's kind of what we're going to focus on today. So guys, thanks for being here.
Of course.
I really appreciate you guys coming in, taking some time to kind of making sure, what teachers can, and to expect, and how we can support them and what we do. And so the first thing I'd like to talk about is personalized learning, right? Because that's why Kate is here.
It's my jam.
So, what ways can, if teachers are interested in personalized learning, what ways can the innovation learning team kind of support that? So.
And I think the great thing with the team is, we all have different niches and kind of our areas of expertise. So even your point of contact might be somebody who isn't really familiar with PL. So if that is what you're interested in, contact your point of contact and they'll get in touch with the people in the team that are really strong. But there's so many things that schools have reached out for a leadership team to say, how do we even get started?
Right.
As a school, how do we build out things? So I'm currently working with Merrington Elementary and their leadership team about how do we start rolling this out?
Right.
So we're starting professional learning with teachers. Mm-hmm. Other schools that I've worked with, our people are just one-on-one with teachers. How do we instructional plan? When I was supporting teacher out at Philip Simmons Middle, we're just looking at how do we manage instruction? So how do I make sure I'm meeting the needs of every student in a way that is rigorous and meets the objective of the learning. So there's a lot of different ways that we can support specifically with personalized learning.
Absolutely. And what are you seeing from your school as far as personalized learning? And
I think a lot of the conversations we end up having, the best part about having an innovative learning coordinator that can support you is that you have that extra person that can schedule a time, and it's just time with that teacher or time with the principal. Not a lot of places have that, where they have that person they could sit down and plan with outside of their team or outside of their school, and that have experiences outside of the school, because otherwise you're sometimes in your own little bubble,
right?
And you're like, what does it sound like, feel like, look like, all those things you want to know. So sometimes just the conversation is, even if it's not about personalized learning, often, since we're talking about instruction, we kind of end up on that conversation whether they know it or not.
Right.
So, and like when we have our, how can your ILC help? There's a lot of things when you're talking about like building a common language or unpacking standards. And those are things that are important for all students, and just having those conversations. Right. It's just nice to have somebody to talk to.
Absolutely. And then you have your point of contact for the school, but then you got, the whole, somebody, I think a teacher needs to recognize that you have the whole team at your disposal, right? So that if I get something about personalized learning, which, at the elementary level, not my strong suit, I'm going to go, hey, Kate, let's go over to this school and go help out, these teachers. And so, that's a really great thing. And then the other thing too, is like when I would be working with Nicole when I was in the classroom, I would ask her a question. She goes, I don't know that, but I know this teacher over here is doing that. And so we can connect teachers that are doing the same things and let them start collaborating and working together. And that's really a powerful thing, I think, and teachers would, I think, really benefit from that as well. So that's another thing that we can do.
Definitely. And that is, and we can even pull people from amazing Heather Ross from the State Department.
Yes.
So somebody beyond our expertise is pulling in those resources that people just might not know about. Right. So I think that's a really important thing. Teams able to do.
Yeah,
absolutely. So you've talked about a little bit of planning and co-teaching and doing different things like that. How are ILCs able to support teachers in those ways? So
planning, once we have that conversation with the teacher, even if we don't know where that conversation is going to go, and we start looking at what they're going to teach, and then we can have conversation. And it may not be technology.
Right.
Like we may not use any technology whatsoever for what it is they want to accomplish. But we're just planning those innovative practices and other ways to just engage kids and, so that way the end goal is for them to learn in their own way. Yep. So, it's just a part of the conversation.
We're there
planning.
to support their passion, support something they're wanting to try new.
Yes.
They're looking just to mix it up, change things up, add some choice in there. I think that's another thing, and that co-teaching, is real important. I just shadowed Jeremy the other day teaching robots to K through 2 and helping that teacher kind of implement some of those things, right? So we got robots. So kids love robots. I brought robots home to learn myself. My daughter was like, that's all she wanted to do now was play with Dash. And she named him Dave, though.
Yeah, that's a lot of where we see support from our teachers, and some schools reach out to say, okay, we understand how to use it. I brought it home, I played with it, but now how do I support standards and instruction with this? So that's a lot of that co-planning and that co-teaching. Or even when we do PDs, was out at Bowen's Corner and we did a PD just on Dash and Ozobots.
Yep.
And we didn't even start playing with them until we started looking at instruction and let's look at the lesson resources.
Right.
Now let's start thinking about how can I program an Ozobot to help with, I think they were doing environment. So if he's traveling and it's cold, program him to go to the environment that shows cold.
Wow.
Very easy with a first grade
Right.
type of standard that they can still use and support.
Absolutely. Because it just, it's not just playing with robots, even though they're playing with robots.
It's fun. Yeah,
yes,
it's fun.
but that's the problem solving, is the creativity. It's taking that lesson to the next level. They can demonstrate that they know something, but then they also have to use some problem solving and some creativity and some communication with other people to code it to get it to do that. And that just adds that little extra spice to it that makes the lessons, I think, way more interesting. And the kids get a lot more interested. And that's what I think we all want at the end of the day, is that kid interested.
That engagement, definitely,
Yes.
And I've been at schools where like this, and I can't remember the school exactly, but we were talking about integrating the 4 C's,
right?
Just like on a daily basis. And that seems overwhelming when you're like, what do I have to do now? But really you do all the collaboration and critical thinking and creativity. Like you do all these on a day-to-day basis. You just may not call it that.
Exactly.
So that's a part of that planning conversation where it's like, no, this is creativity. Like how can we add those 4 C's into the things that you do every day?
Absolutely.
Whether it has to do with technology or not. We can still support with that.
Yep, because we can give you the right tools to kind of figure it out and give you some options. Obviously, we're not going to come in and tell you. They're the master of that particular subject or that particular classroom, and so they know what to do. But that we can maybe have some options, and teachers can get some options and things like that as well. So, professional development options is this may be for administrators, coaches more than teachers as well. But I think there's a lot of professional development opportunities that we provide, that the team provides to teachers. I know that being a part of the innovation summits were something that really brought me to the team is when I started getting involved, and how much fun that was. So what kind of professional development options can teachers, administrators, coaches look for? So,
and I think it is dependent upon their needs. Some schools are looking at how do we personalize professional development for teachers, because they're at so many different levels and different interests. And if it's a STEAM school and somebody who was on board at a STEAM school year from the beginning, their needs are going to be very different than somebody who's just coming in that aren't necessarily understanding the pedagogy behind it. Right. So looking at how can we support schools with PD options? We also look at district. How do we increase summit and now virtual summit? So how are we balancing and also growing, through podcasting and things that aren't necessarily face-to-face all the time. Right. And then the ITO truck will be here soon. Yep. So we will have another avenue to come out and also host professional development and in a mobile capacity.
Absolutely.
So it's really exciting.
Yeah, the ITO truck is going to be, I think, very exciting. So I can't wait till it gets here. And
finally,
that's definitely another way that the ILCs can support. We should be able to now bring things to the school and get that engagement going on. We should have 3D printers on there, maybe some laser cuttings. We'll have different kind of themes through the months and stuff like that. So definitely be on the lookout for the ITO truck and schedule that to come to your school as well. So
that'll be another podcast.
Yeah, you will definitely have an Natto podcast. Absolutely.
Exactly. Another thing about professional development, I think, and we have that on our How Can ILCs Help?
Which is in the show notes. Yes. So definitely check out the show notes and find that Google Drawings.
Which is like promoting the teacher leader. because there are so many teachers out there in schools that are a wealth of knowledge in lots of different areas. And sometimes they don't think that what they know is worth professional development or anything like that. But it's like, we can learn so much from everybody. I think Bill Nye has the phrase, like, everybody you meet knows something you don't.
Absolutely.
So it's just a good thing to get that message across to teachers as well, that, no, you can you don't have to be in a certain position to teach other teachers something that can benefit your classroom, your students. And so just giving them those leadership skills.
Absolutely. That's how I got here. And so, and I tell you, as a teacher, it felt really nice to be asked to go speak at these things, because it kind of validated a little bit of what I was doing. And it kind of empowered me also to take it to the next level. And so I definitely encourage teachers out there to reach out to their point of contact LSC. If they're doing something that, they want to share. I'm sure that, there's a lot of teachers out there that need to see what you're doing, even though what you may not think is something that's extraordinary, it probably is. And so it's important to definitely, share what it is that you're doing, so that we all can get better and help the students of Berkeley County grow. And that's what it's all about. And so that's, I think one of the most important things that we can do.
A lot of teachers close the door and say, oh, everybody does what I do. And that is definitely not the case. So we want to see what you're doing.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Schoology a little bit. We're going to do, speaking of another podcast, we are going to be doing a podcast looking at the implementation course. But I think that's one thing that if teachers are wanting to start implementing some Schoology or learning some Schoology, definitely make sure they check out the course. What ways have you seen, Schoology used, or how have you supported teachers with Schoology? So I know we don't have Phil here today. He's probably out doing Schoology right now. But definitely to contact your point of contact, and then we'll get in touch with Phil.
And his cell phone will not be in the show notes. So don't try to look for it there either. But no, Schoology, with the course specifically, we have the gift of time before the full implementation, before 22-23 rollout. So that's why the course is starting now. So people can kind of go in and get their feet wet and really see, well, what planning looks like for it. What does the design of the platform, how do I navigate through there? So we have a lot of those coming through. Saw a teacher when we were looking at some things being submitted, it was actually an instructional coach going through the course, and she's using the planning document for teachers to say, how do you set up your classroom? Here's a video and links to that. So they're starting to plan in roles beyond the classroom too, about how to support people in their schools to design courses for next year.
Yeah, and I think the benefit of having the course now is it's not going to be the beginning of the school year, and it's like we have to do this now, because there's a lot. I mean, it's a full learning management system, which Google Classroom was never meant to be a full learning management system. It was just meant as kind of a way to get information to your students that kind of combined all of your Google tools, and we're not losing our Google tools. That's why I think people are like, wait, what? No, I promise you, I would not be this excited about Schoology if you were taking Google away from me.
We got to have Google.
Yes, exactly. So we can still use everything we already have created. It's just how it's going to go to our kids will be a little different. But the benefit is it can be really, really organized. And I mean, you can create an entire first 9 weeks course now during the course, and come day one, you can add it to a course and you're ready to go. So I do think it's nice to have access to it now and have time to process and kind of see, okay, this is what I did in Google Classroom or whatever you used, and what does it look like if I use Schoology. And it's a one-stop shop for kids, so, and parents. So it's worth the time.
Absolutely. And I'm going to have the guru on hopefully next episode for Schoology. I got scheduled Phil in to come in and give us everything about the course. And I think that's going to be a lot of great information. So we are in the Office of Technology. And so we do have the tech tools, which are cool, right? We've already talked about the robots a little bit. What other kind of tech tools can teachers maybe utilize that we have, that the team has, that they can, use in their classroom to support instruction engagement?
So I would like to think the littles too. We have Ozabots, which is a great robotics tech tool that codes initially through color. So if you can draw a line with color, you can code and program robots. Westview Primary first grade teacher out there was doing, just to get them used to it, create a board, and then they were telling a story. So retelling a story through just using the Ozobot. So they'd go like, this is when the tornado hit, Mrs. O'Leary. I'm like, great. So just to kind of get their hands wet, and it's a very easy entry if you are a little bit scared about robots and how to get started with
What teacher
students.
was that? Let's give that teacher a shout out. Do you remember?
I think that was Carrie James, if I remember correctly. If it's not, sorry, Carrie.
Get a shout out, get him out on the podcast. So
Yes.
I, of course, always have to go to the Google tools, just because they're so useful. The kids are super comfortable with them. Honestly, the kids are usually more ready to hop in than sometimes the teachers
exactly.
are. But like the digital portfolios, that's probably one of my favorites. I know you use that in your class.
I do, yeah.
And like
using Google Sites.
Yes, Google Sites. And it's just a nice way to be able to actually think about what you're learning and then to be able to share your favorites, or like, hey, I did a really good job on this. This is what I want to share. And then that can even tie into personalized learning when you're talking about learning profiles and like just making your learning visible, and then also being able to share with other people. There's just so much that you can do. And the kids, none of them look the same because the kids do their own. Right. And I've seen it down to third grade. Stephanie Donnelly started that this year at Daniel Island. And then also at Daniel Island in seventh grade, Amanda Atkins also does that. So there's a lot of people that use that now as, okay, I kind of like that. And if you reach out to your ILC, then you can see how even school-wide that might be something that you can do starting from the lower grades up and continue to use the same thing instead of recreating every year. Just to kind of see how much you've grown in, and like Daniel Island, for example, is K-8.
Right.
So that's a long span of time to be in one location, where you can see a lot of growth in that time. So that's probably one of the digital tools that the Google Sites and other Google tools.
We got Google tools, we got robots. What else we got?
I was thinking creation too.
Yes.
A lot of our technology, it's not always a program things. We have some of those, but we also giving those students that opportunity to create and show their learning in different ways. So Book Creator is a great one. I know you've talked about it. I love Book Creator. And I've seen it used at Westview Primary with Melanie Noon. I've seen it used in Merrington Elementary when a teacher was there last year that has left, that we were very sad to lose. But with first graders and and how easy and seamless it is to go in and add video, add your voice over. So when you think of oral reading fluency, if they're writing something and they have to read it, those are very different skills versus just talking and doing a presentation. So getting to know your students too, like student doesn't like to stand up and talk in front of their peers, but they will be able to create a presentation using Book Creator.
Or make a video, that they can show later. We have green screen options, right? VR, right? We have some VR options out there as well. What are those options now? There was the new one that just came that we're using, right? That Linda uses. Which one's that one called?
I think I could talk to VR. Right?
Is that Z-Space?
Yes, Z-Space. Is that VR or AR?
That is AR.
Okay, it's AR. Okay.
I knew some schools do have the VR systems, but we do have Z-Spaces too that can go out and support with augmented reality to pull things out.
Absolutely.
I was a teacher at Philip Simmons Elementary. They were doing landforms, so we pulled them up and they were able to look at the seafloor levels and things like that, and what is underneath the coastal structures.
Gotcha.
So there's a whole lot of things.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to get with your point of contact, schedule maybe a tech fair, right? So we got these little tech fair options where maybe a couple of us can come in and then, kind of just highlight some of the, all the, so they can see what we got and then show how we can then connect that to the curriculum and the standards, right? So I think that's, if you're hearing all these things and, sometimes we forget all of the tech tools that we got as well. It's like, we do have that. Schedule that tech fair and then, let us come in and show all the ways that we can use technology and let students be engaged in what's going on. So I really, guys, appreciate you guys being here. I know I've learned a lot. Is there anything that I left out that you can think of that maybe I I think we got it all.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the biggest thing is that reach out to your point of contact.
Mhm.
Know that it's not just that person that helps your school, that it's the entire team that can come assist and support to all the wonderful things you're doing, highlight the wonderful things you're doing. We want to see what you're doing so that we can then, either bring that to the summit and let you come teach it to the schools or
even highlight you in your own school.
Yes.
The teachers don't know what's going on next door down
Sometimes,
the hall in
yeah.
a different grade to
Absolutely.
say, hey, can we highlight this at the beginning of a faculty meeting?
Right.
So we're here to support any goals that you
Yes.
have.
Absolutely.
And if you're not the point of contact, we'll point you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yep. Cool. Definitely check out the resources. We have a whole chart that has everything that the ILCs can do and help. And then I would also like you to reach out and answer our question of the week. I have 2 questions actually this one. So how have you utilized the innovation learning team? So kind of reach out and how that may help other teachers see that. And then also, what would you like us to do to support you? I think that's something that we would like to hear. We want to hear from you. We're here to support teachers in every way that we possibly can. And so we'd like to know what we can do to support you. So, all right. I really appreciate you guys being here. And I'm ready to get out there and start supporting teachers and doing what we do.
We'll be out there soon.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.